Alright you guys, welcome back. I apologize for taking so long to get this video done. I've been trying to do it in less than 30 minutes. It's been a real struggle. This is my 5th attempt. So, we wanted to get on with some sound sequencing, okay? And so we're going to start talking a little bit about that today, because one of the biggest questions I get from guys is about coyote vocals and what they mean. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as a precursor to coyote motivations, which I think is critical to understand, really to start to sequence properly, okay? Or at least to understand sequencing and how you're going to build your sequences in a way that makes sense to you and is effective out there in the field. So if I'm talking a little fast, I do apologize. I'll bust this out as quickly as I can. I'd like to try to get out tonight, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so the first thing we talked about, sight, scent, sound. Not necessarily in that order, but we talked about those as basic fundamentals, and those are really critical as we move into using our sounds to call coyotes. Now you might start thinking, hey, why don't we use like sight? Why don't we use sight to draw coyotes in? Well, people do. They get a decoy out there. We talked about that earlier. You put a decoy out, coyote sees it, and it engages some sort of motivation. Some guys will use those little pictures, the decoys of a coyote. It looks like a coyote. Okay, and they'll have it sitting out there and they'll be behind it, or have it sitting out in the field, etc. So people do use decoys, but one of the downsides of decoys is, depending on where you are, they may not have good visibility. As coyotes typically hunt low, all right? They're looking at prey on the ground, typically. They're not up looking around like this. They will look around, but most of the time if they're out and engaged, they're moving, they might be checking around to see what's out there. But if they're hunting, they're looking down at the ground. They're looking for mice, they're looking for rabbits, they're looking for other insects and things that they can consume. So it's not always the best choice, but it works very well in conjunction with sound. So then you might say, well, why don't we use scent to draw in coyotes? And I would say that we do. Okay, you get a good bait pile, and that's nothing but a big scent magnet, right? It's sitting out there, coyotes smell it, they come in. Okay, downside is just time. You got to time it when coyotes are going to be there, and there are guys that do. They know when the coyotes are going to be coming in the evening or first thing in the morning, etc. But the downside about bait piles is not everybody has access to one. I mean, if you live in a tight-knit community, your neighbor might not be too happy about having a big bait pile, upwind to him or her. So it's not always that effective for most people to use that as an option to hunt coyotes. So then you've also got lures that the guys use for trapping, and it's kind of the same thing. They set the lures, and coyotes or bobcat or other predators come in to investigate, and that's very effective, but it's kind of a time-consuming process. So to sit and wait for an animal to catch that scent and then wander up the scent path to get to that, you'd have to strategically place yourself, and you just have to sit and just burn time. So I think that's why sound is probably the most effective means for calling in coyotes. It's one of their 3 primary tools, and we're going to engage that tool to our advantage, right? We're going to use that to communicate with them, to bring them in. So that communication boils down to, like, what are they saying? Okay, what is a coyote saying? When you look at coyote vocals on your call, a lot of guys, I just get this a lot. Well, what does this mean? Okay, so I've kind of broken it down in my own mind into different levels of aggression. It's just kind of like anything else. If I go into the office and somebody says, hey, good morning, hey, how's it going? Well, that's not very threatening. And I'm like, hey. So that's kind of like an interrogation howl, right? I'm not very aggressive at all. Hey, how's it going? Well, it's just going fine. Hey, I'm over here. Hey, I'm over here. So, and that's typically the long, natural coyote howl that we associate with coyotes. It's that woo, 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 and coyotes will give you various responses to that. If you're close to their territory, they may not like it. They may give you some barks or etc. We'll get to that. So let's talk about levels of aggression. The lowest probably level of aggression is some sort of distress sound coming from a coyote. And so that you're talking about pup distress or coyotes, all right? And if we're going to move down the chain, the next one would be whimpers, okay? Whimpers, each one of those is saying, I'm hurt, okay? I'm not doing okay in some way. I'm hurt, I'm lost, etc. So that's what it's communicating. I need help, All right, and whimpers are very similar. They can be used to say, hey, I'm hurt. Whimpers can also be used to show subjugation to another coyote, as a way of showing that they're submissive, all right, to an alpha in the pack, or somebody that has greater standing in a family group. So, and you guys all know what a whimper sounds like. You don't have to get too creative to think of these things. You know, a pup crying, okay, whimpers. And then the next level would be interrogation howls. That's the hello, hey, I'm here. Where are you guys? What are you doing? And coyotes will usually respond because they're communicative creatures and they want to talk to one another, and they're happy to say, hey, stay out of this is my area, or hey, how's it going? I'm over here. And so then after interrogation howls, you've got barks. Okay, now this is where we start to get into some action sometimes on a stand. You might throw an interrogation howl and you might get barks back. It might be even a rabbit distress or a pup distress, and you're getting barks and challenge barks back. Okay, so a bark is really kind of like the FU. Okay, and I'm not going to try to be politically correct here. It's like saying FU. All right, so I come out of a bar, some dude over there, he says FU. What is that going to do to me? Well, it's going to get my levels up, right, immediately. And when coyotes start doing that, they're starting to get amped up. The stress levels are starting to build in them. Okay, so if we're going to go to the next level of aggression, we're talking challenge barks and howls. And that's barks with some challenge. Now, guys, a lot of times, sometimes don't know what a challenge sounds like. So it's something like this. If I can get it to play. There we go. Hope you guys can hear that all right. Okay, and so that would be the next level of aggression. So when you start hearing barks and challenge barks and howls, they're getting really worked up now. Now there's not much room left to go beyond this. Okay, when a coyote is reaching this level of intensity, it's starting to get to the point for something to happen. And I always look at challenge barks and howls to be something like F you, buddy, and your mama and your sister, and it's the next one, you know. So it's not just a simple F you, it's boom. All right? And the only thing really to come after that is a growl. And a growl is like, let's get this on. Okay? So after a growl, what you've got is fight sounds. And Tony Tebby has a great kind of fight sound. It's pup distress mixed with growls, and it comes off really beautifully. It's called Den Raid. Rick Pillay has some great fight sounds as well. And that's like the last level of aggression in coyote vocals. So as I see it, you're looking at these things. You've got ki-eyes and pup distress, the least level. Then you got whimpers. Then you got interrogation. You got barks. Then you've got challenge barks and howls. And then you've got growls and fight sounds. All right? Each one of those is jacking up the tension levels as you move down. Now, I'd say interrogation's kind of in the middle, because like pup distress is going to trigger certain things, and so are ki-eyes. All right? We're going to talk about how these sounds and these levels of aggression tap into certain motivations that coyotes have. And understanding that and being able to utilize your toolkit into your sound box to be able to tap motivations that coyotes innately have gives you the ability to then put together sounds and sequences in a way to effectively communicate something to a coyote. And if you can tell a story to a coyote that's believable, you're more apt to bring it in. It's just like talking to a chick on the phone. Okay? If you're saying what she wants to hear, and you say it in a way that she wants to hear it, well, good things are probably going to happen. All right? But if you're just getting on the phone and you're just throwing noise her way, okay, and you're not saying what she wants to hear, dude, she might be sitting there like looking at her phone like, what the hell? She's not even listening anymore. She might even be messaging her friends about what an idiot you are, okay, or I am if I was the one doing it. So you kind of look at coyotes like that. It's you're trying to communicate with them, but you really have to understand their motivations, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. Okay, is what motivations coyotes have, and then we're going to start talking about how to trigger those. Okay, because once you understand what motivates them, then you can really hone in on how to bring them in. And I'll give you a perfect example. One of their motivators, let's just get this right out of the way right now in this video, is hunger. Everybody uses it, right? They throw out rabbit. If a coyote's hungry and you tap that motivation, what's going to happen? That coyote's probably coming in. Okay, the colder it gets, the hungrier it gets, the more calories they need, like in the winter, well, the better that sound's going to work, right? Because you're tapping a motivation that they have. It's a survival motivator. And you play that sound, it's going to get their attention. Okay? If they're not hungry, then you're in trouble. Okay? That's where these other coyote vocals and other sounds and sequencing comes into play. Okay? Because a lot of guys use rabbit, a lot of guys use jackrabbit, a lot of guys use squeaks and what have you. But what do you do when a coyote isn't playing ball? They aren't hungry. They're well fed. They've got plenty of game in the area, and they're not playing your game. So they're done. Then you have to start looking at other motivators, and that's where we're heading. And hey, I appreciate you guys coming. I hope this made sense. And I could actually play the sounds, but it just lengthens this video that much longer. I'm trying to keep this short. So if you got any questions, put them in the comments section. I'll try to respond with the time I've got. If not, if there's too many questions, I'll come back at you guys and maybe make another video on top of what we're already planning. So anyways, I want to get out hunting tonight, and it's getting kind of late. So we'll see if I can get this other video done, get these up, because I promised them a long time ago, but this is like my 5th attempt at trying to keep them short. So I shut my mouth. Catch you guys next time. This is Boss.